Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Jake Cohen. I am the marketing coordinator here at Network Concepts. I just want to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, The End of the Sticky Note Security and Identity Management. So today, if you haven't guessed already, we're talking about passwords. From John Podesta to Colin Powell to the Russian hackings, everything that you see on the news, believe it or not, has to deal with one thing, and that's passwords. And we're going to show you, believe it or not, how easy it is to avoid that. So I'm here with Tyler Pritchard, and we're going to dive deep into this conversation. So just one quick housekeeping rule. If you guys do have a question, please be sure to type it into the chat, and we will be able to bring that up in the Q&A portion of the webinar. So without further ado, Tyler, would you like to take it away?
Sure, thanks, Jake. Hi, everybody. My name's Tyler Pritchard with Network Concepts. We specialize in helping clients with security, networking, remote access, as well as e-business and website development. And welcome to the end of sticky note security. Before we get rolling, I know some of you guys on the webinar, we've had a pretty good response from this, don't really know who we are. So I'm just going to review that real quick. We were founded in 2004. And we really decided to kind of change things back then, the group of us that got together. And I think we've evolved pretty well over the years to suit you guys. We now specialize in small to mid-sized businesses. When we started out, we were kind of an integrator to where we would do a lot of migrations. We don't do anything with the large market. Everything we do now is designed for the SMB market. We have really a deep understanding of IT networks. We are not an accounting firm with one IT guy that we pawn off of on you guys because we do your accounting, like a lot of other companies that are in the area. We are an IT company. We have one accountant, but she works for us, and that's how we do it. We definitely just do IT. We try to build value into everything that we do. Even this seminar that we're doing today, I'm passionate about passwords, but we didn't know if we were going to do it. And if you guys asked us to do something, we'll try to do it, up to and including who's going to do the webinar. I originally wasn't going to do this. We were going to have a vendor do it, but we changed that up because you guys asked us to. So really, we focus on IT so you can focus on your business. But let's get started on why we're here and what is dominating the cable news story. This is how it all started. This is the email that started. I mean, this isn't the actual email. This is a copy of the email that started it all. And like Colin Powell and William Reinhardt, this is the John Podesta email that created everything. This is called a spear phishing email, which, Americans have traced back to the Russians and the North Koreans. And it's really simple. If you looked at this, if I sat down with you guys in an hour, I could teach you how to do this whole thing and you could reproduce it. Unfortunately here, once you put it on the internet, it could turn into a federal offense. But this is the email that went to John Podesta. John Podesta was apparently away or out of the country, and he forwarded it to Sarah. Sarah's the girl in the middle. Sarah then forwarded it to Charles Delavan, who is the IT guy. Now, the IT guy made a huge mistake. He wrote back to Sarah that this is a legitimate email and John needs to change his password immediately and ensure that two-factor authentication is turned on his account. Now, what he didn't do was actually look at the email and the code in the email, because that big blue change password link goes here. Very, very, very easy page to create, and you can get a picture of almost anybody on the internet now because we all post everything we do on the internet, including pictures of ourselves. But if you look at the link at the top, it looks a little peculiar. Instead of ending after google.com, where there should be a backslash, there's a hyphen. And then you can see the security setting page.tk takes it out of the country. This site was hosted. TK is like, God, it's like a little country of islands in the South Pacific. So Devlin sent this email back without really looking at it, and then it was forwarded to one of Podesta's, I guess, assistants. She proceeded, because she didn't want him to get locked out, to click on the big blue link and go to this page and change the password. Now, once that's done, they automatically have access because they know what the password is. They can then go into Google and type in whatever she just typed in, and they have control of the account, and they can start to download it. The funny part about this is this wasn't the first email. This had happened a couple weeks earlier to William Reinhardt, which I don't know if a lot of people that don't follow this, this whole thing happened a couple weeks earlier, and it wasn't published on WikiLeaks. It was published on DC Leaks site. So this should have never happened. And a couple of the weeks before that it happened to the same group of people. So here's the IT guy. You can see the look on his face. He's the center of all the attention. But he did write out a tweet. This happened in September. In October 25th, he wrote, "Don't click on anything ever. Delete your email accounts and move to the woods." So it's basically he was caught up in one of the simplest tricks in the world, and they were caught in it twice. And they might have been caught in it more. We really don't know. But what we do know is this is the same trick that the North Koreans used against Sony. The North Koreans actually were a little bit more, I guess, tricky about it in that they use social media. But the Sony attack, the Sony picture attack, they targeted, and we know this for a fact, they only targeted 17 people within Sony pictures. So this is a well-known exploit. It's been used many, many, many times, and people keep falling for it. And in the Sony thing, it turned out to be a total disaster. And if you guys remember that in the news, Sony employees are suing Sony. They canceled that movie, which I don't know if anybody remembers what the movie's called. I mean, it was a real mess. So now that we kind of know how the news-dominated version of this is going, because we're hearing about it every day, and you guys now know how to do it, so you can all go home and become hackers, we really have to look at the general picture of how these passwords are getting stolen and what we can do to protect it. The number one thing that they can do is people can guess your passwords, especially if they know you personally or you publish way too much information on social media. They can get your pictures, they can get your mother's maiden name, they can get the color of your first car, your favorite movie, and that gives them an extreme ability to guess things. The other thing that was in the news, this goes back quite a few years, was they can see it, which brings us to the Post-it notes. You know, a couple years ago, there was cleaning crews that were looking under keyboards for Post-it notes and then selling these passwords. I'm personally, if I see a Post-it note under a keyboard, I rip it up. I don't do it to customers now as much as I used to, but if I see it here, I rip it up and I throw it away. The third thing is they can log it. I mean, we deal with infections. This is really affecting the elderly people in the area with the malware. Most of the malware has keyloggers or it's downloading stuff. It's really getting intense combating the malware, and nothing's going to stop that but legislation. But if they log it, they have it. The fourth thing is they automate it, which is really just a brute force attack. That's, if you have an easy password, brute force attacks still work. Even though we see this a lot in the news, it's not as, even though it's simple to do, and I showed you guys how to do it, it's hard to get people to fall for it, and that's the phishing attack. And it said fish, but it's spelled P-H-I-S-H, and that's what we just showed you guys, to where they go into, you know, sending out emails, or they do it through phone calls. That's another thing, to where they're getting a lot of the elderly people. They'll call them and say it's Microsoft, but that's what's called phishing. The final thing, and it's happened a lot. One of the biggest examples of stealing it was the Ashley Madison attack. When that site got hacked, they didn't steal the passwords, they stole the whole database. But weak passwords that are hashed, especially under 7 characters, can be cracked in minutes. So when they steal it, it doesn't take them that much to crack the passwords, and then they're really on their way. So here's, unfortunately, the way we're doing it, and this is the current state of passwords. You've got 64% of the people are putting password on Post-it notes. And I know people do it because we're an IT company. I see Post-it notes and whole pages filled with passwords that people walk around with, which is concerning, because if they lose that page, they may think, well, it's offline, but it's easy to steal. The other thing is 70% of people, they use the same passwords. So if the one password gets exposed, they're able to infiltrate multiple accounts, which has happened a lot in the news as far as the Yahoo hacks. They were able to get into eBay accounts and Twitter accounts. So when you're using the same password and same username, once one's hacked, you're really in bad shape. The last thing is, I mean, the average person has 19 passwords today. To be honest with you, that's kind of low, because I know a lot of people that have passwords. 51% of those people are opposed to remembering one more password. They don't even want to have another password, let alone a different password. All right, so what's the effect of this? Here's the reality of it is you've got weak passwords out there. Half the passwords are considered weak. And I know this because we are using a system now of the people that participate in this, which I'm going to show you later, to where we can analyze their passwords, and they are weak passwords. 20% of the passwords are less than 8 characters, which violates the landman hash rule. If you are under 8 characters, it's minutes to hack it and crack it. When you go to 8 and above, it turns into hours. So make sure you know that. And then the thing is, of the 1,500 data breaches, 30% of the investigated intrusions were caused by the use of weak passwords. I mean, that 1,500 data breaches resulted in a theft of over 1 billion passwords. That's a lot, because once they get in, they're able to expand. So what does this translate into numbers? Here's the reality is hackers have exposed the personal information of 110 million Americans. That's half the nation in a 12-month period. Well, half the adult nation. The Ponemon Institute, I mean, it's hard to measure because eBay and AOL, and a lot of them aren't fully transparent, but we're kind of thinking as an industry, 432 million accounts are hacked on a yearly basis. And this is real damage. I mean, you're talking about, you know, all sorts of information that they can get out there. Even if they don't get your credit card information, they can get your phone numbers, birthday, passwords, and then build on that to get into stuff. All right, so what do we do about it? This is our solution, which is terrible. This is a section out of the password policy that we give out to people. So it's really an unreadable document that we can't even create a solution that works for this. I mean, I've given this out to tons of people, so I know you guys can't do this, but this is right now our solution. All right, so let's say that I know I've given that password policy out to tons of you guys. Here's the problem after you implement the password policy, because it creates a serious burden. So you have 19 passwords. That creates 14 password-related requests each year. These are industry standard numbers. These aren't our numbers. The average industry standard number for a password request reset is $26. That's not really what it is here. It's a little bit cheaper here, depending on the part of the country you go to. So that alone, an industry average per password, is $364 a year. Now they estimate that the General and administrative expenses, which is to me a little bit of a soft number because that includes people looking for passwords, time on the phone, non-productive time, is about $200 per year per user. So that leads us into each user for passwords costs the company about $564 per year per user, which is a lot of money. So at that point, we kind of have to find a solution. And to find a solution, we have to outline the problems and look at what we really need to do. So we know passwords should be 8 characters or longer, should be complex. We know all this from our password policy. We absolutely have to discourage people from writing passwords down. That was years ago. We know that cleaning people were stealing them in New York and selling them. We have to have a complex password generator so that they're not easy to gain, because we know that, 30% of the hacks are stronger are from weak passwords. We have to change the passwords on a 90-day schedule because that's what the auditors want. We have to remind the users that require it to be changed, so we have to notify it. And then finally, this is the biggest thing for me, is we need something that does a one-click logon solution just to make people's lives easier. So here's what we have to look at for benefits. As far as we know what we have to look for in a solution as administrative solution. Now we have to look at the actual end user. We have to enhance productivity. Nobody wants to be looking at passwords, and I know you're going to talk to some people that say, oh, well, enhancing productivity is everything, but that's what we want to do. We want to make it easy to use. People hate new systems that are hard to use. Operational efficiency, no one likes looking around for passwords. So we want to get something that's easy for the user to use and can do their job without thinking about it too much, or at least thinking about their job, not thinking about passwords. And the final thing, we could all try to create this ourselves, but it will cost a fortune. If we are all together, we can then create a unsurpassed security with kind of this military-grade protection that we can have tested, and it'll be affordable. I mean, here's the features. It says Passportal features, but these are the kind of the things that I kind of wanted, and I've been talking about passwords for years. I hated them to where we kind of got into this a little bit because we were a LastPass user. We kind of liked it. I think that loving passwords is a little bit strong, but these are the features in a business situation that really need to stand out. So we need team-based password storage. That is important. Obviously, we need secure password sharing. That is important also. We deal with people all day long. You can't email us your passwords. I mean, they should be encrypted, but you don't know about a man in the middle. You need something that has inter-organizational password collaboration, not only for us, but if you have copier people or auditors, you need a solution that really allows inter-organizational sharing, which that was my problem with LastPass that we were using before this. It was very difficult to use because they'd sign you into a year-long contract. This doesn't work that way. The website one-click login and login recording is paramount. To me, anyway. I think that that's super important. The Active Directory self-service password reset, we get a lot of calls on password resets. We implemented this here because we have a complex password policy. If I get locked out, I can unlock myself from my phone from anywhere. And it's not an application that's on my phone that will get stolen. It's actually a cloud-based app. Password rotation management is important. I think that interaction auditing is terribly important, and anybody that's under any kind of CFR compliance has to do it. But that's one of the things. If somebody logs on and knows a password, you want to know who knows it. If I disabled Jake's account today, I would instantly get a report of every password he accessed in the time that he was here. And then, of course, like everything today, you want it to be web and mobile optimized anywhere, which I think at this time, everything hopefully is, including your website. But this thing does a really clean job of, web and mobile optimized. I'm not a big mobile user, so I mean, I walk around with it, but I'm not a huge phone guy because I hate to say it, anybody that calls me usually wants something, so I dread walking around with a phone. But how do I guess you guys are going to ask, how do I know all this? How do I know what I'm telling you? And I don't really volunteer to do these things. I'm not a sales guy unless I feel passionately about it. The reason that I know, well, first of all, I would never fall for the Podesta scam. I'm an IT guy. And we saw the face of the IT guy that fell for it. He looked like he was just going to shrivel up and die. But I know that would never happen to me because I don't know my passwords to Google. And if I was to log on to Google, this is the inner workings of it on the way we have it set up here is when I launch Google, it's going to ask me. If I launch a fake site, it's going to tell me that I don't have a password for this site, and it's going to list the site. The other thing is, and I took screenshots of my personal use of the system. You can see my password generator right now is set to 50. That's not an actual password that I use. I just hit generate password. I just started doing that. So not that I'm telling anybody that, I've been hacked, because I never have, but I was caught up in the Chase thing, and I was caught up in the Target thing with the credit cards. It wasn't really a hack, but both companies canceled my credit card. I had to go through that. With a 50-character password that I don't even know, it won't take hours. Actually, under 7 is minutes. A little bit over 8 is hours. At 50, you're talking about a year. They will give up before they crack that. And the last thing, because we have a lot of users that have already adopted this, and which is why we decided to do this webinar, everybody says, well, what am I going to do if the system goes offline? It's just like anything else. You can see the Passportal backup utility, which I use. I mean, I probably should use it more. And there's an easier way to do it. I use this one because it creates a zip file, and I can then create a complex password and go forward. So I know all this stuff because we've been using this since August. We started making the changeover from LastPass. So we're not new at this. I'm not coming out with you and saying, hey, we started using this last week. We test stuff severely, and we test it here. So the reason that we wanted to do this, and it's kind of funny, the first quarter we were doing all web stuff, and if you guys that have logged on or have it, it actually says web design, because we originally implemented this for Jack and the web design, and then we kind of moved it into the broader audience for us to use. But here's the thing. It's the cost of this for $10 a month for a company vault is almost the cost of a cup of coffee. We're IT guys, we drink a lot of coffee. For a whole company, $10 a month to put all your passwords in, to be able to share them with your vendors and do all this other stuff, you can't beat it. The same thing with the personal vault. So we actually have a company vault, and we all here now, well, not all of us, we haven't implemented it fully. The girls don't, we haven't forced the girls in accounting to use it, but all the techs are forced to use it. I think about 90% of our company now is forced to use it, and they all have it, but I think at the end of this month, 100% of the company is going to be forced to use a personal vault and a company vault. We are no longer going to be able to log on to stuff. So we're totally going to be out of passwords by April 1st. And the quote down here is kind of funny. If you spend more on coffee than on IT security, then you will be hacked. And once more, you deserve to be hacked, which I kind of think is ironic. Because if you look at John Podesta, $4 a month would have saved him from being kind of I mean, the laughing stock of cable news. So we know how much it costs now, which I'm going to get into a little bit, but how much does that save? So we know that G&A costs $200. So if you're spending $48, that's 76%. We know that IT password costs for resets are 364, I think we said earlier. That's 84%. That brings your total password, if you decide to implement a true password policy. Now, I'm not talking about the way some of you are doing it, but if you go with a true password policy, getting a password management solution is going to save you 91% in the long term. So that's a huge, huge savings to roll on and do this. Here's why we're here, because we kind of forced this out. We have a lot of people on it, and the company that did it is redesigning the whole system. You can see it used to be called Pro Site and Lite. Now it's called Company Vault, Personal Vault, and Blink. Up until, well, it's going to be April 1st, but if you sign up till on March 31st, you're going to get the old pricing, which is $10 a month. After that, they are raising the pricing, and they've put a lot of money and time into it. So you're going to get all the features of what's they branded it Ocular. It's still Passportal, but they've rebranded everything to give a lot more features. You're going to get it for the same price. Same thing after April 1st. If you got, we already have a lot of people on it. They're locked in for the whole year because we talked to Passportal. So you guys are going to get locked into that. And then if you do want the light version, the light version right now, we only use it with managed service customers or monitored customers, but the light version is like $1 a user or something a year. So we don't really get into that. If you guys want the password reset and you have the other stuff, we're not really going to charge you for that, but that's an extra option that you can get into. And I think the pricing for the light is actually going down. But at $1 a year, you're not even talking about 10 cents a month. So I also want to go over, as anybody that went to the website development, you guys know that we do things quarterly. These things are still up there from last month, so we have all these great things going on before we move on next month to backup and disaster recovery. The small business website sales going on, the Business Plus website. The biggest thing too is the SEO and website maintenance package. That's going to be the same thing. After April 1st, unfortunately, we are creating a new package and it's going to go up just because the time involved with the old package is so much, and we've got so many people asking for more advanced organic SEO. So that stuff's all available for you for the next year. I want to remind everybody that we have the Q2 business seminar, because Q1 is going to be over, I think, in a week. Next quarter, all of our deals are going to be about backup and disaster recovery, and we have a really cool thing going on with Dado. Dado's taken all the existing Dado customers out, so anybody that wants to learn about Dado, they're going to someplace, I think in Doylestown, to the train station in Doylestown, and having a really nice lunch. And thanks everybody for listening, and if anybody has any questions, we can go over that now. I hope it was informational for everybody, but it looks like we covered our half an hour, and we'll get into some questions. Jake, were there any questions on the queue, or?
As of right now, there are no questions.
No questions. All right.
Yeah.
So either I did a really good job or a really bad job. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We've never done one of these on a Thursday afternoon, so I wasn't really prepared. I got a little horse in the middle, but hopefully everybody learned anything, and there's a handout there. And if you want to sign up, give us a call, or if you want to do more information, we can walk you through a quick demo. But for that company vault, I'm telling you, that's, as a business owner, that's at least take advantage of that. So thanks everybody for attending, and let us know if you want to do any more of these. Like I said, we'll do anything you guys want, whenever you want, as long as it's within reason. So thanks.